Look, he's like a true connoisseur.
Yeah, he is.
Swirl it, swirl it.
Yeah, swirl it, dude. It makes you look cooler. What do you think, cookie dough?
Ah, fucking hell.
It's cool, man. I almost feel like we had Ben on like too soon. You get worried about that too. Like, fuck.
Yeah,
We're
but he'll
trying to
he'll do it
build a.
again. I mean, like he'll if you
Oh,
do
for sure.
another lap around later, he'll hop back on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
we
thing. Like
we kind of
everybody that
talk we
we
kind of talk about everybody with that too. We're like, yeah, well, let's have you back on. Like, let's not have it be one thing because we're trying to make friends, and the more connections you make, the more people. Like, if we never talked to Ben, I would have no idea about your page. I
Yeah,
would have no idea what Whiskey Morgue was, and I was like, oh
yeah.
fuck.
Although I told Ben like I'm like, dude, I feel like I let them down because they were like, yo, this is really cool. Ben said he was like drinking your whiskey, and
he was
I'm
drinking
like,
it. We were drunk, so like he was drinking out of your glass.
Yeah, yeah.
oh
No, you didn't
man,
let it. You didn't let us down.
No, we were amped. I was definitely amped. I was like, I fucking love both of those. I was like, I'm a big bourbon guy, always have been. And then I'm a big
yeah,
horror movie guy. And just looking at your page and how you're kind of complementing whiskey with movies and then food, I was like, oh man, this is fucking rad, dude. Like, this is what I'm all
yeah,
about. Like, if I didn't go with a straight up brand, like to start off with, well, it started off as like a fan page, New England Home of Horror, and then like has kind of built into like making movies and doing podcasts,
Mhm.
and then doing Check the Candy. I think if I would have thought about it, that's something I probably would have done as well. Is trying to pair those things up because you go into pretty good detail, man, of
Mhm.
just some of the things you say about the movies, and then the way the whiskey was made, or when it came out, or what their whole motto is like this really cool
yeah.
thing where you only
I
think,
spent a lot of time.
no, I
It-
bet, dude. Like, but it's interesting. It's interesting for
yeah,
someone like me to, and I think it is a niche thing, but it's, I see that there's a lot of people that support you with, your brand, and then there's also people that support you, that don't even like horror movies. They like the
yeah.
whiskey thing, and you might be bringing them into a whole new, um, genre. You know what I mean? Of
Yeah,
movies and stuff like that.
you're touching base on two different
Yeah.
aspects of life, and it's a good connection, I think.
Yeah, it's that
No,
that
I
pairing
appreciate
that
that.
pairing that pairing thing is cool, and that's kind of what we tried to do with Check the Candy. That's why we came up with that name when we were first coming up with it. We were like, we were like, we really want something that has to do with food because movies and food are just a
Yeah,
pairing, right? Like, who doesn't? First of all, we grew up in a time where it was like you got to check your candy, like that was a thing, right? That was just kind of a cool name, and obviously there's references to that in movies and stuff like that, and a similar thing I think with drinking in movies and having a glass of either wine or whiskey or I'm a big tequila guy too. So
Mhm.
tequila, uh, and the whole dinner and a movie type thing,
Yeah.
it's like a different feel to that, which is really cool. And I think there is a crowd out there for it, that are interested, obviously, because your stuff does really well. And it's just cool because I didn't see a lot of that. I saw like
Yeah.
a couple things that did like beer in movies, and it was
I saw a
just,
lot of beer ones. Yeah. When I started jumping
yeah,
into it, I was like, is there anyone really doing this? And there was like a ton of like craft beer, and there's so much you can do with that. It's probably a cheaper route to go. I should have fucking went craft beer because
right.
picking up a can for fucking, even if it's like a bougie fucking can for $5, like you can do
Right,
that.
right.
Where like some of these whiskeys get pretty pricey,
Oh,
and then you feel this
absolutely.
pressure to like constantly keep pumping out like new relevant material with like new releases of like horror and whiskey, and yeah, it gets pretty involved.
Trying to pair those up, and like, but at the same time, like if you're a whiskey fan, like us, it like builds the collection, both both
Like you.
both movie wise and whiskey wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, big
Builds that
time.
collection. So that's kind of cool, So goes hand in hand, man. So I really like it. It's dope.
All right. So what are we all drinking? Are you drinking water? What'd you just pour in that?
And
Me.
mine?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just rinsing it out. I threw water in between, and I have a couple other things I brought out here
I
too.
was I was thinking about bringing down coffee grounds to smell. Is that a thing?
I
Not that
guess, yeah. I
is it?
mean,
I've never heard of it.
I've heard of that like with like
To like clean
oh,
the palate,
colognes and
maybe.
shit.
yeah, I guess perfume, but like
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you smell the coffee and then like but I figured it would do the same thing, but I didn't do it because I didn't want to seem like a bitch.
Well, there is a way of
Um,
like cleansing the palate, right? I don't know. Do you do like do you
Crackers.
do water in your whiskey at all or
you know what? For the most part, I find I drink most my stuff neat.
Me
Like,
too.
not in like I guess because a lot of the shit I'm drinking, it's like a lot of like fun, like cast strength, like
Mhm.
different releases, and I enjoy them as is.
Absolutely.
And I think like, but then there's sometimes where like I have a weak spot where I'm like, if I'm watching a movie, like if I'm watching a movie with my wife and I'm not like tasting something new, I'll pour like Buffalo Trace on
Yeah.
like some ice just to kind of like extend it and enjoy. So like,
Yeah. I
or I'll
never
do a
do
cocktail.
I definitely don't do ice. Like if someone pours me it with ice, I'm fine with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
But I do
I
like the harshness of whiskey. The
yeah,
the burn is something that I really enjoy, and I feel you get a lot of flavor that way as well. Because I mean, it's all coming from the nose, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I think if you water it down a little too much, it really does take away those notes. But
Yeah, to me, it's
I
kind
do
of like however it was bottled. Like that's how I want to taste it. And I know some people are like,
absolutely
yeah, but you can open it up with like a drip of water, then two drips of water, and I'm
right.
like, to me, if I taste it, and like some of my favorite shit, you put your nose in there, you're like, this smells magical. You taste it, you're like, damn, this is good. And even if it has, a kick to it and it's spicy because it's fucking 65%, then
Yeah,
like that's how I want to taste it as is. Like, ideally coming from like the barrel. So I mean, not everything I have is barrel proof, but
right.
um, I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, I was reading that the other day, and I obviously knew a little bit of that of putting a little bit of water in, not ice, but just a couple drops of clean water to kind of bring out some different flavors and stuff. But I really do just enjoy the burn, and sometimes the water just kind of takes that away. So I go mostly like, I do if I go to a bar, I'm doing neat. I usually go like
Yeah.
Basil Hayden, Buffalo Trace is a good one as well.
Hmm.
And then at home, and if I'm drinking, I always do like Stones or I have these stone glasses as well that I drink out of.
Okay, nice.
Keep it nice and cold, but still get the burn. You know what I mean? I fucking love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I
Fucking
don't.
burn.
That's one thing I don't like about whiskey is that like when they pour it, because I don't drink it, but when you go to the bar, they pour it. If it's a shot or something like that, it's hot, man. It's gross. It's already hot. Like I don't want to do that.
I
So
Yeah.
think
like,
that's what if people don't like whiskey, that's the biggest thing probably
well,
is
I
is the
bought the
burn.
stones tonight. They're probably fucking like warm now, but
It's an old Taylor. Do you know where that comes from? Like the
Ireland,
stones? Yeah, it's they used to
Ireland,
take it out of the ocean or out of the
I
rivers
fucking
and
guessed.
put them in. Ireland and Scotland, I think both. But yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they used to do. That's kind of what it's made after, which is totally cool because they don't want to water down their shit that much either. But it's just a good idea to kind of just keep it nice and cool and
Well, I'm excited to try my stones. I've already passed a couple, and
hopefully not that big.
dude,
Mine are
they're
all beat up now. I got to get some new ones. I
they're
feel
not
like I've
even
been
cold.
I feel like I've been kind of drunk and just had like thrown them in a fucking glass. I'm like, yeah, I put my stones in. I probably drank a
All
few
chipped away.
pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
yeah, what are you
so
drinking anyway? What do you got going on?
yeah.
So I started. I was pre-gaming with this the one Ben sent over. It was just a Jack Daniels like triple mash.
Oh, nice.
So it was like more like a, I guess, one of their newer offerings or whatever.
So is he putting
Um
it? Is he making a label? Is like how's this
Yo,
work?
Ben's fucking legit. So like I have like I print off like on my printer I have like my label, but I just kind of handwrite. So mine would have like the Whiskey Morgue symbol here and to the right just whatever it is. But Ben types like all his shit, so it has like, yeah, the
That's
label and
super
then
cool.
yeah, so like
He's
it was
so
it was the
thorough.
coolest thing ever because the first time I got a package from him and he was like, yeah, let's exchange whiskey samples, and I fucking had like fright rags, like whiskey. Like I was like, this is cool. Like this is,
That's
and then he
yeah.
showed me he was doing like store picks. So he's in with like the store that he buys from. He's done some joint picks where they picked a barrel, and then he got to do the artwork for it. So hold on, before we hop on here, let me see if I can pull up the because the image is fucking so dope.
Oh, that's so cool.
Um,
So does he
so
like
he
does he buy like a barrel and get like a certain amount of
so
bottles out of it or
so what he did is it's actually better for him. The store said we're gonna front it, we're gonna sell it out of the store, but we know people love fright rags, and in Rochester everyone knows fright rags, and because
right.
they host like even the community events at the Little Theater and whatnot. So they said, okay, like it's our pick. He got to do the tasting to decide on the barrel with him, and then do all the artwork and figure out what it would look like. Let me see. Okay, I have it here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Oh yeah, that's fucking sick.
Oh yeah.
So he has like Salem's Lot there. He did that. So
Yeah.
I know he was telling you guys like he doesn't do as much design anymore. But he did that one himself, and then he has like the red wax, like
Yeah,
fucking
like
cool.
Maker's Mark
dripping.
or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Maker's Mark. Yeah, I was watching that video of you today doing the talking about Maker's Mark. Who did that?
The Rue Morgue one.
Yeah, but it was the drip down. Oh, it was somebody from Friday the 13th, right?
Mm. It was the when I paired it with Friday the 13th.
Yeah, but I thought you said somebody did. I was working.
No. So the whole angle was that like Margie Samuels, who was like the wife of like what's I think was it Bill? Yeah, she was like, "Okay, let's design the bottle this way. We're gonna do the wax drip,"
Yeah,
and she did the stovetop. So everyone looks at her as like the matriarch, like the mother figure of bourbon. And she was like the first in the hall inducted into the Hall of Fame. So when I was thinking of
I got you.
dominant mothers and one, then that was the whole angle with
Okay,
Friday the
I
13th.
got
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was deep inside a bathtub right then. So I got you. I got you.
Yeah,
That was a
like I said,
fun episode.
that's Maker's, signature right there with the wax. It's pretty cool.
So
All right.
what are you guys drinking just before we jump in here? Because I know I saw Taylor. I saw you had a couple of
Yeah,
those
so I thought I
bottles
had
there.
5. I have 4. I have dough ball, cookie dough whiskey.
Oh God,
So
so sweet.
and then yeah, and
There's
then I
so
have
much
Jack.
sugar,
It's so much sugar, and then Jack Daniel's honey,
dude. Your
which
heart's
is
gonna be pumping.
gonna be
Gunk.
beaten. Definitely gonna be beaten. Lord Calvert spiced peach whiskey.
Shoo.
Jesus Christ, makes my pecker hard.
I want all of them going down too, dude.
No, fuck that, dude. My wife already told me I can't. That was another thing, like she was like, "Is this whiskey night?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's whiskey night." So Wicked Pickle, I'm pretty excited about this one.
Is it
That's all it
pickled
says.
flavor?
I don't know.
Must be, right?
Wicked Pickle. Oh, one stiff pickle.
But I mean, Taylor, you do moonshine once in a while.
Yeah, I like moonshine.
A little bit
But I'm
different
a
than
vodka
whiskey, but
drinker though. Like I'm a
yeah.
straight up like Taki, or I think that's how you pronounce it, Taki. Um, it's like $11 for like a bottle this big. Can you see
Oh
the bottom?
shit.
Can you see?
No,
Can
no.
you see the bottom of my hand? It's that big.
Yeah.
It's that cheap.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, that's what I drink. So I'm pretty excited about trying my warm whiskey now with my fucking dumbass rocks that I bought that aren't cold anymore.
Still do your stones, even if they're a little bit more than, less than room temperature, you'll be all good.
Well, they're in there.
Like I've been sipping off my stone glass, but now I'm switching to with the stones in it.
Okay.
So they've been kind of resting now. It's nice and cool.
What's your glass say?
Yeah, I was looking at that.
All work
I
and
drink
no
it. I
play.
know things.
Well, instead of all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, I did all work and no play makes John a dull boy.
Oh,
So
that's sweet.
cliche.
So it's The Shining. Pretty cool. It's all over like the typewriter. Pretty sick. Wife got it for me for Christmas.
That is cool. I bought mine from Dollar Tree because I didn't order your damn glass because I forgot. But it's actually made out of it had a sticker on it that said made out of recycled glass. So I was like, that's cool. It's like curved and shit.
And it was from the dollar store. Someone probably took that off of something else and put it on the glass. I'm
It's
drinking. I'll tell
definitely
you
not
guys
recycled
what I'm
glass.
drinking. I went with the double oaked
Oh, that's a
brilliant
classic. Yeah,
Woodford Reserve, baby.
that's dessert in a bottle.
Yeah, it's super
Big
rich,
one.
man. Really good. $70 here in Maine. Not terrible. One of my more expensive bottles that I go for though. First time I've
Yeah.
ever had this one though. And it's rich. It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I enjoy that one. And funny enough, like I always complain about Canadian prices sometimes, like and what we can get here, and that's a whole other conversation. But like for some
Yeah,
reason, the double oak is cheaper here than over there. Like I can get it
really.
for 55 Canadian most of the time. And
Oh wow.
like what's that's Chuck E. Cheese money. That's like in the US, like 55 Canadian right now is like 40 US.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Ooh,
cheap.
yeah.
It's
you
weird how
should
that works too.
start shipping that to John.
Now, do you guys
Yeah.
have like like how does Canada do it? Can they mark up or can they not mark up on the prices?
It's yeah, no. So like we have like in Ontario where I am, like so I'm just outside of Toronto and the province of Ontario has its own liquor board. So I know who is it? Like Ohio has it. I know a couple different
Mhm.
states who it's like state controlled or
That's
here
what
it's province controlled.
that's what Maine is too.
So
They're
in some
controlled.
ways it works because like I always talk about like Weller in the States. I see people go fucking nuts for Weller, and it's like
Mhm.
just for like antique. And here you can get it, it'll drop like maybe 4 times a year. It goes for 60 Canadian. And that's like one of my regular drinkers, and some Americans will be like, fuck you, buddy. Like it's oh nice, fucking Weller Antiques, just your regular fucking pour.
Yeah.
So
Fuck you,
there,
guy.
there's some perks to it, but then it's really limited in terms of like selection and variety, and they don't do like store picks or anything
Right.
like that. So it's been a wild ride, like on both ends, like with horror and whiskey, because like on the whiskey side, you learn fucking get all these different connections. Like most of the bottles I post, Canadians are like, how do you have this? And usually it's through like a network of having certain friends in the US and like who will ship stuff and whatnot. But yeah, because a lot of people are like, yeah, you can't get half of this stuff or more in Canada. Like it's very limited to what you can get. But then, like I said, I've had a couple bottles of Blanton's Gold,
Yeah.
and you get some of those good things that aren't marked up. Like they'll be marked fairly because they can only put whatever like the amount is of like MSRP
Right.
suggested by Buffalo Trace or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it is here too. And then you can mark down. You can always mark down, but
Yeah,
you can never mark up. So like things like not that a lot of stores get it, but like, Pappy's or Rip Van Winkle, stuff like that. You can't put it that fucking $3,000
yeah.
price that people will
Well,
pay
fuck. I was
for it.
gonna say, I was gonna say, you pulled out the fucking the Rip Van Winkle for the picture there, and I was like,
Yeah.
this guy just casually pulling out fucking this fucking unicorn bottle, and
Yeah.
I'm fucking Whiskey Morgue. I'm like 150 bottles deep, and definitely don't have a pappy.
Yeah. And if you were to get like a shot in a bar, very rarely, but if you were, you're paying, you know, $30 a shot
What
over
the
here
fuck?
for it.
Why? Like, what is it?
It's
Like, is
just,
it
and it's
good?
not, it is, but it's not like what, like he's saying, it's not like this rare, super rare. It is because of the way it's been promoted, but it's not
Yeah.
like you wouldn't taste it and be like, oh, this is,
So it's
I mean,
overrated.
no, well, not necessarily. It is a
Like
good
to me,
bourbon.
like when I've tried Pappy 20, for instance, right? And it was like, don't get me wrong, it's one of the best pours I've had. And if
Yeah,
someone said, hey, like you can have it right now, I'd pay $200 to get a bottle.
What?
Like that would be my premium, like,
right.
yeah, that's like a showpiece on my shelf, like something special once a year you pull out and pour with some friends or whatever. But like it's not $1,000,
Right.
$2,000 good. Like,
Oh
I can't taste
man.
that fucking money in it. My brother
Right.
won a Pappy and a George T. Stag. And like I'm the sucker, like, and I guess because I do this, I'm like anything I get, like I got the William LaRue Weller, and I saw it was going for 1,800.
Hey.
And I was like, oh, I'll fucking open it because like I open up everything. But my brother had two bottles and he flipped them and made almost $3,000.
Yeah.
What?
And he's like, yeah, well, there's my vacation for the family. It's paid for.
Right.
Jesus Christ. I need to get
Yeah.
into the whiskey
Yeah.
business.
Well, yeah, and
Fucking
it's all
hell.
in much like horror fans, it is a collector's mindset. Like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that you want to go out and spend that money on that bottle, that it's
Will
every
people
sip
pay
you
for
take.
it? Will people pay
Definitely.
for it if it's open though?
Some people do sell it open. I guess more people are skeptical, I guess, and you couldn't get the same, you wouldn't get close to the same value. But like most people end up just being like almost like this investment thing because like some people open it and others just kind of end up flipping it, hanging on to it, and then hoping it goes up in value some more. And
Yeah, and if you're a collector,
Man.
it's like you want to have it on the
Yeah.
shelf. You know what I mean? It's kind of that mindset. You know,
Yeah.
it's
But
like
Like
you
right now,
you
I
never
could probably
drink it
stop.
though.
well, I did. I drank my
Yeah,
bottle, bro.
So if you're a
I
collector, you still drink it. Like it doesn't matter what the bottle, like how far it goes. Like I feel
but
like you would want
but
it.
that's a whole thing in like in the whiskey world is like and it's funny because I made a commitment that when I do my page, like every bottle is going to be opened. That I because I'm not I hate fucking people online who are like they post all these sealed bottles and they have like a great collection, and I'm like, you don't fucking drink it. I don't want to hear
Yeah,
from you.
right.
Like, if I want to look at a closed bottle, I'll go on their website and read about it with a nice picture that a photographer
Mhm.
did. So it's like for me, I'm like open it and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's an
And
experience. It's an experience.
like it's cool because like even like when I look at like even things like so I opened up the William LaRue Weller. So
Mhm.
it's like amongst like the ranks of like getting up there with the Pappy and the BTAC stuff.
Mhm.
Um and then fucking chatting with I gave Ben a sample right away because he was like, fuck, like I would love to try it. And then it got me, I'm not saying that was the only reason, but like I was chatting with I did like a live with Chris from Under Oath there.
Mhm.
And him and I were chatting and he was like, oh fuck, like you got like he's a whiskey collector. I was like, are you still a Christian band? Like I didn't know. And I was like um I definitely not anymore, but he was like, yeah, I'd love to try it. So like I sent him a sample. So it's been cool because I'm like, you know what, like share fucking whiskey, enjoy drinks with people, and that's it, man. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
but it's true. It's a collector's mindset. If I stopped buying whiskey today, I would be good for a long time.
Yeah,
Like I don't think I'd have to buy whiskey for fuck, like
right.
depending on how happy or upset I am. But yeah, I think I
Yeah.
have a bunch of years under my belt before I have to buy another bottle.
Yeah, it's if you have that collector's mindset, it's nice when you get a couple bottles going. But like me, like I have a collector's mindset with it, but I do love to drink it, man. So like it's hard for me to keep bottles going because I just like
Yeah.
it. And I'm not buying overly, this, this is at $70 is probably the most expensive I've bought in since I don't know, it's been
It's
a
awful.
while. It's been a
Yeah.
while. But I mean, I'm gonna make this whiskey last. It's not like something I'm gonna sit here and drink all night, I'm not gonna put
Yeah.
half the bottle down. Um, but there are whiskeys like basil. I just love basil. It's like my go-to.
Yeah.
So like stuff like that, I'll, that's my normal drinking. And then this will kind of sit on the shelf until I want to break it out again. But yeah, it is a collector's mindset. Same thing with movies, man. When you there's a reason you go out and you buy the DVD and then the 4K comes out,
Oh,
Steelbook,
like,
you're
and that's
like,
why
oh fuck.
I openly will say that like, I growing up, I had a shit ton of VHS. I had an amazing collection. And then over the years, got rid of it, garage sales. Like before, I really was like, I feel like I came full circle. I sold fucking music gear, VHS, everything that I'm buying now. I fucking once
Yeah,
sold
you had.
Yeah.
in my early 20s when I was like trying to grow up and put money aside for a fucking house and
Right.
shit. And like, but it's come full circle. But that's why people now are like, hey man, like do you collect like the DVDs and VHS? I'm like, man, I can't afford to get into anything fucking else. Like I'm on
Yeah.
the whiskey. The odd thing I'll pick up for sure, but
Right.
like my brother's into cigars, and I'm like, nope, that's a fucking whole other
Like a
rabbit
whole
hole. And
nother
I'm like,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Pairs
What
well with
what do
whiskey too.
what do you collect like horror wise? Like I see some stuff back there on your shelf.
Um, fuck, like, there's nothing that like unless something interests me, I'll pick it up. What's cool about this whole setup back here is it's mostly shit that like I've gotten as gifts from friends over time.
Nice.
And then I kind of made a point. I have other stuff inside, but I made a point that I was like everything out here and like my setup is going to be things that were gifted to me, or like, and I can turn around and every single one of these things is connected to a story of like some other than like the Rue Morgue magazines. Like those are mine.
Right.
And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was mine. The Fright Rags, Halloween, lunchbox, that was mine.
Cool.
And but other than that, everything else was gifted. So it was like kind of my
What about that They Live mask right there?
Yeah, it's so sick.
oh my wife's best friend. I was at her house one day. We were kind of having a barbecue, and she's like, "Come, I got something to give you." And I was like, and I mean, I know she's a horror fan. Like her house, she has a ton of cool shit around the walls, like and whatnot. She's like, I have a couple things, like I don't know, like I just like I want to give to you. I think it'd be cool, and you're set up. So she gave me this mask here, and then these Army of Darkness
Ooh.
characters. So I'm like it was like from when the movie was first released. So these things are fucking old. The boxes are original and like all beat up and shit. But yeah, some cool
That's
stuff.
super cool. That's super cool.
It is.
Yeah.
All
So
right, so I
what
just poured my first drink of
ooh.
Lord Calvert's peach
Oh
spice
god.
something.
Dude, go drink out of the sewer, bro.
It smelled like fucking
I,
shit. I hate
I thought I know
whiskey.
every whiskey in the world, and then the non-whiskey drinker tables like four different whiskeys, and I'm like, I know Jack Daniel's honey, and the other three I have no fucking
No
clue.
Yeah,
idea.
dude. Like I just picked the ones that I thought would be like I got Jack Daniel's honey just simply because you know, Tennessee.
Yeah, jeez.
I'm a loser.
Get all the
Wait,
sweet stuff
quick
down
quick
there.
question. I know we should get this fucking started, but like how do you guys know each other again?
Crazy,
We
actually.
don't.
So we've never met.
Oh
In
shit, yeah,
person.
okay.
Yeah, so we've never met. I had him on my podcast for the Home of Horror podcast. Before I started the movie, I was doing that once or twice a month, and I had a co-host, and we were reviewing the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and I think I had asked Taylor to come on. I think we had talked. He had messaged me, and we had talked. I was like, "Dude, you should come on and review this
I
movie."
messaged your ass. You messaged me.
Yeah, I probably did. I don't know. Something. Whatever. We just started talking and I wanted him to come on the podcast. And so yeah, we did. And then he had something with his daughter going on, so he didn't end up coming on that episode. But then I messaged him again. I was like, "Yeah, we'll just do it some other time you got." And he had his friend Chris come on, and we did an episode basically based on around
Evil
Evil
Dead.
Dead 2013. And
Okay.
we
I'll
talked for
tell you
like
what. I'll tell you one thing. Yeah, we talk for fucking ever, but I'll tell you one thing. Um, Evil Dead. I was actually in a hotel at a convention
oh
trying
yeah,
to
cool.
plug my I brought my DVD player with me so I could watch this movie to get a little bit more insight before I went on with John.
Yeah.
Well, I did, and I was like fucking hammered. I was like gone. I was like three sheets to the wind. I was fucking done. And I couldn't get the connections right. So it only played in black and white. And I was like, all right,
So
fuck
he
it.
had like the green or the red, white, and yellow.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
And like one
that's
of
a
them,
gamble.
and one of them was
Dude.
like green, so it didn't have like the right color thing.
Yeah. So it played in black and white. And I tell you something right here that 2013 Evil Dead played in black and white is probably the best way to watch that movie.
Yeah, that
It
much
was
blood, dude. It must have been so cool. I
it
still
was
got to do that.
fucking I was so like drawn in like because it's like it's new age but it's black and white and it's just like fuck.
That
Like
would be cool.
this is creepy. Like it's really fucked up. And yeah, I remember getting on there talking about that a little bit. But yeah, so we met and we had a group of friends. We still got a group of friends. And we all started talking about doing a podcast and then John and I just followed through with it. We just said fuck it, let's do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was it's kind of just, and then we, talked, voice messaged a lot, and then started doing just video chats. Nothing. We did a few lives here and there, but we were like literally video chatting just behind the scenes, having drinks, and
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of came up with the idea for Check the Candy. And yeah, here we are. All of a sudden we've been, we talk basically every
Yeah.
day, set shit up.
12 years later. It's been a long time.
No, not that long. It's been about a year. But yeah, we just I think we had a lot in common as far as like what we wanted to do with our, we're passionate about horror movies and what we wanted to
Yeah.
do, and we have a lot. I think we have similar tastes in movies, but we also have like erratically different tastes as well, which makes it kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because originally we were gonna do like just reviews.
Yeah.
We were thinking like, oh, let's start reviews and then maybe we'll have some guests on here and there to talk about movies. Which we still will probably do every once in a while, but all of a sudden we got into just being like, oh, let's just ask some people, what's the worst that can happen? They say no.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden just no one says no. And they just, we don't know why. We're just
But
like,
you know
okay,
what? Like I think like kind of connecting with people and having like seen different podcasts and whatnot. and not just because I'm talking to you guys, like right away I was like, yo, I'm down for this. Like, A, it's cool, like you're like, hey, we spoke to Ben, and Ben spoke to me, and even today he was talking. He's like, hey man, have a fucking good time with those guys. They're cool. And we were chatting about it. But it's like I hate like the worst thing ever is like I enjoy horror. I think I know quite a bit, but like I fucking hate when like you're talking to somebody and it's like almost like they're trying to quiz you on any
Right.
fucking fact. And like I mean, again, like I do some research, like I put my post together.
Right.
But like becomes like a dick swinging contest sometimes, and I
Yeah.
hate that shit. And I think with you
Absolutely.
guys, like as soon as I started checking out your stuff, I was like, yes, like horror, kind of what I want to do. Horror is the catalyst. We
Yes.
can talk about that, but like we can get into other shit too, and not everything we are and who we are is defined through our knowledge of horror. You know what I mean? Like it's
Well,
like
Yeah. But it
that's
should be
that's why
like
you
you
guys get
said.
together. It's horror, but you guys have drinks and shoot the shit and like
Yeah.
and
that's
Absolutely.
one that's 100%. And like we're already recording, so a lot of this he's gonna clip and put in. So like
Yeah.
so whenever
yeah.
I know you're like, before we get started, we're already
Yeah.
started. Like we're going.
Well,
Like
that's how
Okay.
it
this
goes. We
is
try to
this
tell people we don't do like it's not an interview base. Like I'm not going to sit
Okay.
here and be like, I like the
anything.
questions, but it's stuff like this that gets the conversation going. I mean, we were
It
just
really,
started talking
yeah.
about drinks, and now look where we are. We're already getting
Yeah.
into to the horror aspect of it, and
But
it's just
we do
interesting that way.
appreciate you saying that, just simply because we went into this, at least I did, and I think John was on board with this, was like, hey, let's not fucking make this an interview. Like
Mm,
Yeah.
let's just sit down and talk with people. Let's shoot the shit. If they drink, even better.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah,
That's where I'm at.
yeah. The conversation's better because it leads to the stuff you want to know anyway. I think. And it's just much more easygoing. It would be, I think it's very simple, yet hard to come up here and be like, yeah, so what did you think about Friday the 13th, part six?
it's
Yeah.
You know
almost
what I mean?
boring.
Like, well, it's
It's kind
boring.
of
You're putting
boring.
someone on the spot. You're, like you said, it's a dick swinging thing where there's no reason for me, him, you to be like, we're all in this together. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
this, we all love the same stuff. So, like, if
Yeah.
I can learn something from you and you can learn something from us, or we gain a friendship based on
That's
stuff that we like together, like, that's kind of the whole point, you know? And
yeah.
and
That's
I
it
was a
just,
little
it's
I
just
was a little
cool.
bit
It's
nervous
cool
though.
recording. You know what I mean? You might as
I was
well
a little bit
record it.
nervous talking today because like fucking Taylor mentions he watched my fucking Rue Morgue video there, and in that one at the end I said it works well in a Manhattan, unlike Jason, and that was like my punchline at the end, and then he comes out with the post today and he's like, I fucking love I
I
love
don't
that movie, and
Oh,
I was like, shit.
care what
that's
anybody
all.
says.
That's all we do, bro.
That
That's
like
all we do.
that's one thing I don't care what anybody says, man. I am a diehard fan of that fucking movie, man. It was the year I was born. Kane Hodder's my fucking favorite. It's just
And
that's a great movie.
that's the appreciation though, and be able to knock each other's
Oh
balls
yeah,
out a bit. You know,
Yeah,
me
yeah.
and him
but
go at it.
He likes Stephen King. I fucking hate Stephen
He
King.
mentions Rob Zombie every damn episode and fucking, you know what I mean? I like
We're
Rob
gonna get
Zombie,
into
but he,
that.
yeah, we as far as movies go, there's shit that he'll just be like, oh yeah, you like that, and he'll be like, yeah, I think that's so stupid. It's just like this funny thing, you know. It's never like, oh, why would you? But it's like
yeah,
the way
people get
people treat drinking sometimes, or drinks. They're like, oh,
yeah,
you would drink. You know, you could have easily come on here and been like I was giving Taylor a hard time about what he's drinking, but like you could
yeah,
come on here and be like, oh wow, you're drinking fucking Jack Daniel's peach. Like you're not, you know what I mean? Like
It's
some
yeah,
not
stupid shit
it's
like
Lord
that. Like,
Calvert, you son
oh,
of a bitch.
sorry, dude. But stupid shit like that. And I do see where you're coming from, where it can be kind of people can butt heads that way, and it's a little weird. I'd
yeah.
rather just have the conversation and get to know someone, and then you become like, then you're following their page, they're following you, you guys are connecting more,
It's a
and
podcast. Like
I've
it's
had a couple people
literally
message me and be like, I agree with this, but I don't agree with this, and this movie isn't good, and this whiskey, and I was like, and my response is like, cool, that's
hmm,
like not even in an asshole way, like it's just
do you.
totally fine.
yeah, yeah,
It's
like
totally fine.
and and I think I straddle this fine line because when I got into this, I did want to legitimately like review whiskeys and write about them and have some fun with it too. But like at the same time, like if I say I enjoy something, and here's my take on it. Again, that is, it's subjective, right? Like I enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Someone like, no, I don't agree. Like that's shit, and this is better. And I'm like, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fine.
like I don't know. People like getting combative with like, what you like in horror, if you dare knock a movie or a whiskey. And I'm like,
Yeah,
man, this is all just about having a good time.
yeah, and
See,
it's also it gets confrontational when you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you're
Throw
like,
that line.
okay, well, then it's not subjective. Now you're taking the art out of everything that I'm talking about,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Whether it be whiskey, whether it be movies, whether it be anything you're talking about. Now you're taking the creative aspect and the art out of it. Because if you say that about a movie, you don't know what you're talking about because I like a certain movie, well, then you have a very close-minded view on things, because there's movies out there that are fucking terrible that I love. I love
yeah,
them. I just love them.
yeah,
Like, and there's movies that are absolutely brilliant that I don't see I just don't see it. You know what I mean? But like, it's
yeah,
all, like you said, it's subjective. Like, why no one person's the same? It would be so fucking boring if we all agreed that, like, it's like that with the Oscars, man. Like, how weird is it that like a movie comes out and everybody's like, this is gonna win the Oscar, and then it just
yeah,
does, and you're like, okay, cool, I
yeah,
guess, like
yeah.
fucking
That was already
whatever.
determined like 6 months
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. It's like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, because it's this artsy film and like has this certain point of view, that it's gonna win the Oscar. It's like, what are the Oscars fucking based on? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what is it really? Like, is it really about a good movie? Like, what if there's movies out there that people like widely love that aren't even considered because they're just like a monster movie or a bug movie from the 50s, or like
yeah,
Tremors. Tremors is the fucking
yeah,
Tremors is so fucking good, and
yeah.
it's so fucking bad at the same time.
Yeah,
And it's like, but very few people are like, I hate Tremors. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I
yeah,
like, like comfort films and stuff like
It's a
that. Like,
fun film, yeah.
absolutely. So it's weird to put this like, how many people honestly are taking an Oscar movie and like watching it nonstop? You know,
yeah,
like, isn't that
yeah.
weird that
If
like
you if
they
you really compare it to say like a horror fan who
yeah,
like will put that on even as a comfort thing like once a week sometimes, like that one
yeah,
movie that they enjoy,
or they
and
watch
someone's
it
like,
going to
yeah,
bed.
yeah, yeah, like I've done that a bunch of times, right? Like my
Yeah,
wife's like, let me guess what you're gonna put on, the same shit you fucking, like I have like
yeah,
my horror group of movies, right? And it's like, yeah,
yeah,
it's comfort, you throw it on. But how many people are watching that Oscar movie like
exactly.
Yeah.
every
Seriously,
couple of weeks, right?
like that movie Parasite came out and like it was a good movie and like everybody loved it, won the Oscar, but like
Yeah.
who's like, yeah, I put Parasite on like
I mean,
when I'm when I'm
I still
when
have
I'm
not watched
feeling
it.
when I'm feeling blue, I put Parasite on. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it is an experience and it's great, but like, and I also understand that like movies aren't the same. Like the first time you experience it, I think is really a good way to go off something,
Yeah.
especially with horror. I mean, not that you can't like, I mean, there's been plenty of movies where I think I've watched and been like, oh, I didn't really like it. Then I watch again. I'm like, oh, fuck, never mind. Like
Oh, for sure.
I
Like you
watched
can
it this
always
time
find
and I
something
really
to
liked it.
appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find it funny, like you guys watch Joe Bob?
I do not.
So
No.
like Joe Bob, like so he does like the last drive in there, and he does
Right.
like
Right.
the monologues. And he was talking about something a couple episodes back where he was saying that like critics will go deep diving into these 80s horror films and like try to tear them apart, and they're like, oh, what is the metaphorical meaning to this? And he's like, listen, everyone was high on cocaine trying to make a dollar.
Yeah.
Like that
Definitely.
was the truth. And a lot of times it wasn't about the passion of the horror and this and that. A lot of it was like, yo, how can we make a fucking dollar?
Yeah.
Horror is thriving right now. And don't get me wrong, there's some people who are involved who are passionate, but a lot of what you're critiquing and getting all worked up over is just either people having fun or people trying to make a dollar, and it's not
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
serious. So just
Definitely not. Definitely not.
just enjoy it, watch it, and if someone has a differing opinion, then so be it.
Especially
That's
in
the
the
thing.
70s where like things were ripping off each other like nonstop,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And then some of them became iconic because of it,
Yeah,
but it's like that with everything. Like, look at music. There's not one
yeah,
chord that's never been played. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's everything comes from something. So like, why are we gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, well fucking whatever, like you're just
I know.
spewing a bunch of
Enjoy
shit,
it.
like
Just
yeah,
fucking enjoy it.
or just don't and move on. Like, it's so crazy to be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. This is fucking bullshit. It's such a weird way to go
So
about something that you
Rotten
supposedly
Tomatoes.
love.
Yeah, the internet's a weird place too, because I feel like it's been amazing in terms of like people. And I did another episode where someone asked me like, were you big into like the horror community growing up? And I was like, the horror community was my fucking father, my cousins. Like
Yeah.
that was the horror community. Like I
There
really
wasn't
didn't
a
go to
community.
yeah, I didn't really go to any kind of conventions growing up.
No.
I knew people and friends of mine who watched horror, and if they didn't, they were subjected to it coming to my house.
Yeah.
Even when they probably shouldn't. Like, and that was always my favorite when they came from a household where they
They
weren't
don't
allowed to
watch
watch
it.
certain
They
things.
were
Yeah,
Christian.
and it's a free for all in my house, right? So,
And it just blows their mind.
My
yeah,
dad says I can't come over to your house anymore.
yeah,
That's how
I'm
we
like,
kind of all got into horror too. Like that's how I got into horror was, like my sister-in-law let me watch like Child's Play, or like I saw Children of the
yeah,
Corn while my parents were watching it. They didn't know. It's always
yeah,
some weird story. You don't see that with like that's why the horror genre is so cool, man, because you don't see that with like action movies and like
I know.
comedies where you're like, oh yeah, I was like hiding behind the couch where no one knew I was out of bed and I was watching fucking Dumb and Dumber. You know what I mean? Like it's not like
Yeah.
this.
But now you have all like you guys are talking about. You have all these fucking couch warriors out there sitting like, well, this film's not as good as that film.
But that's
And
what it
it's
is that I've gotten to connect with so many great people on here and people like yourselves. And then on the flip side, and again, I'd say the good outweighs the bad, but on the flip side, like I said, I'll get a message where it's like, that movie was shit. That movie's overrated. I'm like, so okay, you went out of your way to just message
Tell
me
me.
just to tell
Yeah.
me tell me
that's the
that.
thing. Yeah.
Like if you messaged and you were like, yo, like the effects were awesome, but like I don't know, I wasn't sold on the plot. Like we can talk
Right.
about it.
Yeah,
But
have
like
an actual
when you're
conversation.
yeah, when you're just like, that was shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
right,
like-
man. Yeah, cool.
It's
Like,
that you don't know
I
what you're talking
fucking-
about. I hate that.
I fucking hate Midsummer, man. Like I'll admit it 100%. But like I've never messaged somebody and told them I hated it. Like
Right.
tonight after all your whiskey, you're messaging somebody. You're sliding in someone's DMs.
dude, I was just thinking I've got a
He's like, it's
couple
that stiff
people
pickle.
He's like, hold on.
that stiff pickle.
So good. So good,
I
man.
can't wait to
Dude,
try it.
and you get attacked. It's so funny. I like to push the buttons a little bit. I mean, I've done it with Terrifier 100 times. I mean,
Ah,
I've
dude,
just,
Oh, yeah.
he
I've just
fucking
become
hates it.
I've just become like, yeah, but it's like it's all also almost like I've become the heel now. And like I want to keep
yeah.
like I want to keep like I didn't like Terrifier, but like
Yeah.
that was it. Now it's become like
But
people are like, what are you
here's-
talking
all right.
about? Da, da, da. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
I fucking hate Terrifier.
Let's put this. How did you feel about Terrifier versus Terrifier 2?
Who are you asking?
Is your name Mike?
Mike, yeah. You know what's
Okay.
crazy? Okay, here's the thing. I'm horrible because and just as you asked my name, I'm like, I don't tell anybody my name. I'm horrible at introducing. So here I am. I'm just
Yeah.
like Whiskey Morgue. And I literally there's an ongoing joke. Some people like in the whiskey community would respond back and they're like, hey Morgan, hey Morgue. Like they were just like, is that your name? Because we
That's
don't
funny.
know.
Because Taylor does it once in a while. He does it as a joke. He did it to Nightmare Christie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, do you like go? What'd you say? You were like, what's your real
Something
name?
about- do you go by Nightmare or something like that?
No,
Or-
yeah,
I don't know what it was.
so what's your name? She's like, Christy. And he's like, oh, I thought it was Nightmare.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm gonna call you Nightmare. So we called her Nightmare the
I've
rest of
had
the
like
episode.
long conversations, and then finally we get to a point. And it's like, hey, I don't know your name. That's why I was just like, fuck. I'm like, have I not given you my name? Like, here we are now. We're hanging out. We've been already talking for an hour.
You know, I was deep inside a bathtub and I did hear Mike, and I'm like, fuck, man, I did not rewatch that to know if that's his real name.
Well,
or
to be
like,
to be fair, it is on the screen too, so we could have just known.
where
Oh, I guess yeah.
This
I don't
says
see it.
Mike. Maybe
Mine
you don't
says
have the
mute.
right- Oh, you don't have the right features on, bro.
Mine
He's
says
bad. He's
mute
bad.
right here.
He's not good with technology.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
You
Open
got to
your
put
old
your
eyes.
icon over it. Yeah. There you go. Or your mouse. Anyways, Mike. Guess what day it is, Mike?
Yeah, let's get into it.
How do you feel? All right, for one, here we go. I'm gonna take a drink of this fucking shit
Oh, okay,
ass
yeah.
stuff.
I like it. I like it. I want to see
Because
I want
my-
to see your face. Pull
My
your
stones-
pull your mic down so we can get your face. I might have to pause it during the episode.
want to do it. I'm gonna pair this with God damn, guys.
That's the peach one, right?
Yeah, but it smells like fucking hot ass whiskey that makes
All
my
right.
dick hurt.
So after you take a sip, name a movie that it reminds you of. You know what I mean? First movie that comes to mind.
Okay. Oh, that hurts my fucking lips.
Ooh, okay. Think about lips. Does anybody get their lips ripped off in a movie?
Oh, Jesus, that burns. Oh, I'm gonna call
Oh,
it the burning.
I'm laughing
I
because
like it.
that's my exact process. Like people are like, how do you come up with these pairings sometimes? And like, don't get me wrong, sometimes I have more of an agenda or like I want to deep dive into like weird facts. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just like, yeah, like my lips are hurting. Like what this and I like Google like what horror movie did someone get their lips ripped off? And
Yeah,
then
it's a good idea.
yeah.
The Burning, by the way, Taylor, great fucking movie.
Yeah, because I feel like it's a summertime flick, and
Yeah,
my
definitely. And you're feeling a
my
little hot right
it's
now.
got a little peaches into it. It's not terrible. My fucking throat hurts. I'm gonna put 2 more whiskey stones in this. I don't have any water, but I'll rinse it with spit.
Oh, gross,
Um,
dude. You're so nasty.
Shoot, that's gross. All right, let's do. I'm
I
gonna
like
do
the
cookie.
Oh, you're going right back at it, huh?
Dude, I want to get these fucking knocked out, like done, so I can fucking not do them ever again.
I like it.
He's on a mission.
Okay, this is dough ball cookie dough whiskey. I'm actually pretty excited about this.
All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1, down the hatch. Not all the way though. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like cookie dough.
No shit.
Look, he's like a true connoisseur.
Yeah, he is.
Swirl it, swirl it.
Yeah, swirl it, dude. It makes you look cooler. What do you think? Cookie dough?
Fucking hell.
Are you gonna vomit? The Exorcist?
It tastes like cookie dough.
Yeah,
That's
that makes
actually
sense.
pretty good. That's
That
pretty
makes
good.
sense. I like it.
Oh fuck no, man! I'm about to cry.
It went down the hatch pretty good too. Maybe you go hatchet on that one, Victor Crowley.
Hatch it there.
I'm not. This is what I was talking to you about earlier, Mike. Is that I'm not fucking good at. I would never know how to pair because I fucking hate whiskey and all I drink is Taki vodka. That's 11. Can you see the bottom of my hand right here? So I
He
fucking
just drinks Taki vodka and
Yeah, that's his
watches fucking Jason X all the time. That's his go-to.
that Manhattan. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck hell. This shit hurts my chest, man. I don't see how you guys
That's the
like.
burn. You just have to accept it
That's
just
bogus.
accept it with open arms, dude, and then it'll be better.
It smells delicious though. Like this truly. Can you smell it?
Yeah, it smells awesome, dude. Cookie dough.
But you know what? Like when I got started, okay, so I started drinking. I mean, I had been drinking for a long time, but when I started drinking bourbon, it was like say 2014, and it was by chance. I think my brother started buying a couple bottles and was into it. And again, I didn't know anything. I wasn't that fancy, and like I would go have like an old fashioned, or then I got like bullet bourbon or Maker's
Mhm.
Mark, and I put it on some ice, and I definitely wasn't sipping it straight off the bat. And then I found like I started enjoying some of the flavors there. Like I will say, like maybe as like with the water element or ice, it's good to kind of dilute it and like ease someone into kind of exploring that there, because then I feel like it just slowly you kind of pull away like the water, and you could start identifying some of those flavors in good whiskey too after, right? So this is where like this is not like the pompous side, right? But for instance, I was like, hanging with some friends the other day, we were jamming, and I brought some whiskey, and they were like, "What are we drinking?" And it was a Jack Daniel's single barrel, and they were like, "Oh fuck, no, I don't do JD. Like, too many horrible memories of drinking Jack Daniel's growing up."
Right.
And I was like, "Hey, no, but this is not like that Jack Daniel's. Like this one is actually much more expensive Jack Daniel's."
Right.
And sure enough, they had a bit of it. And they're like, "Oh shit, this tastes nothing like what I
Like
expected it."
that
Yeah,
sweet syrupy Jack
yeah.
Daniels, yeah.
Yeah, and they were actually like, so the one guy who was like really reluctant was like, "Yo, give me a second pour of that because
Yeah.
that's really really good stuff."
Absolutely. That's the thing with whiskey when you get to the cheaper stuff. Not that you can't drink it. I mean, sometimes it's good, but it is like a little more like syrupy and sugary, and
I feel like the cheaper shit gets you drunk quicker though. Am I not right?
Well, it's a lot of sugar. So
but not in
Yeah.
vodka. Not in vodka.
vodka's there's no sugar.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So
That's
like,
what I'm saying. So like the sugar
No,
in
but
alcohol will get you going.
why does like the harder vodka cost more whenever it's literally the same? I don't get it.
Let me tell you something. Vodka is a sleeper, man. Like I feel like I'll still drink vodka drinks like when I'm by the pool. Like my brother has a pool in the summer. I'm not drinking out of a fucking Glen by the pool,
No.
like Whiskey Morgue
Yeah.
in my swimsuit. But like so like we'll be drinking vodka drinks and whatnot, and it goes down too easy, and all of a sudden I just kind of catch myself, and I'm like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
like
Cash.
I'm too far gone. Like like this like the spins are happening. Like I'm noticing that I had way too much that day. Where like people laugh because like with a lot of the whiskeys that I drink, they're like cask strength. So they're like, wait, you can get liquor that's fucking 65%. Like,
Right.
and you're just drinking this straight, but I'll have like 3 or 4 drinks or pours of like high proof stuff and feel great the next day. I'll
Absolutely.
have some water in between. But if I start drinking these fucking mixed vodka drinks and whatnot, shit can get real sloppy
And
fast.
I really think I think sugar has a lot to do with that because first of all, you start to sip more. You don't take your time on it. They go down a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
Um, it really starts to, and then the headache is way worse as well. Whereas whiskey, that's what I love about it. I'm never like some people here, they're like, oh, I drink whiskey and I get fucking mad and I like all this shit. I'm like,
Oh
well, it's
yeah.
because
I'm like,
you're drinking like Jack and Cokes all night. So like
yeah,
obviously you're
yeah.
getting all
Oh
that
my.
Coca-Cola sugar and you're
Also,
getting
I
all
hate
fucking
people.
amped up.
I hate people who have like repressed issues, just blaming it on the whiskey. Like
Yeah.
I get really angry when I drink whiskey, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you probably just need something else, like counseling or
Yeah,
therapy.
you should probably just talk to someone, get that out
Yeah,
first.
I've,
Because
yeah,
I've, I've,
I drink whiskey and I feel just like happy and I feel good. And like I said, like I sometimes I'll go a little overboard and but I'm still always just like, hey, how's it going?
yeah,
Like this is
yeah.
great. I
I've
absolutely love
never
it.
been mad or angry on any fucking thing I've ever drank ever.
Mhm.
But I tell you one thing, the only alcoholic beverage that if you push me, it actually makes me like, all right, well, fuck you. Like, let's fucking go, you know?
Gives you the courage there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which is Malort. Malort is about the only
It's that wormwood, dude.
dude. It's about it's literally like if I drink Malort, I'm the best, dude. Like I'm the best when I'm drinking anything, dude. I'm a fucking blast. Like I'm not tooting my own horn, but I could literally drink fucking
If there's one thing about Taylor, he is a fucking blast when he's drinking for sure.
like
We've had some good times.
yeah, like I can drink fucking anything. I'll never get angry. I'll never get pissed. But like if somebody's being a fucking dick and they're being a
Yeah.
dick to me on everything else but Malort, I'm like,
Let it go.
let's fucking go. Let's
Yeah.
go. And like then that's the time like I've got a beard and stuff, but I'll still get my ass whooped. Like it's one of those things.
You might not feel it as much though. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with the beard and even the bandana, like I feel like you would just have to kind of like post up, and I would glance over and not even want to mess
yeah,
with
it's
that.
like not that guy, not that
Yeah,
guy
like
tonight.
people look at me like that. That's why I started wearing the glasses, man. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, I actually have a really serious eye infection, and I have to. It's been like since birth that I've had this like one eye. I'm fucking with you.
No, it's got a
I
glass
was like, you see
eye.
me, I'm like, okay, I'm like, yeah.
No, I did get. I was drinking Malort one night at the bar. Got stabbed in the eye, with a beer bottle. And so I don't like how I have one eye, this eye right here, that bags really bad because I got stabbed in it and I had to go to the hospital and all that good shit. About lost my eye. So that's why I wear the glasses. But other than that, the bandana I normally wear with what's those summer hats that when you go to the beach, those big ones? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, just like the sun hats, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, those are
Yeah, that's
sweet.
All I can think about is a Raiden from Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat.
seriously. Yeah, it's just like a big,
it's
like a big
it's
sun
similar
hat.
to that. But like
Yeah.
Or the
like
creepy priest from fucking Poltergeist too.
Yeah.
Poltergeist too.
but like
But then
I've never been a badass, man. That's not like who I am. I'm not done that shit. Like
it's
like
overrated.
my wife said the same thing. She was like, "You're like this bad boy." When we first got together, she was like, "You look like this bad boy." Blah 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 blah. Blah. I'm like, but I'm not. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Fooled
truly
you.
like.
Yeah.
Dude,
Like I've got a beard
it's
because I like to have beards
yeah.
and I have tattoos because
It's overrated, dude. Take it from me.
yeah.
Um Anyway, dude, so why Whiskey Morgue? Tell us a little bit about the name and stuff. Like, that's such a cool fucking name. And
It
I
really
obviously
is.
bought one of your t-shirts and I love the fucking simplicity of it. It's perfect with the
Yeah.
glass in the middle and the casket. I'm like, this is something I can rock fucking all the time. You know what I mean? So how did you come up with the name?
The name was so it's funny because I definitely like I was throwing around a whole bunch of ideas and like I was a fan of Rue Morgue and I loved the ring to it. And I know they pulled that from like an Edgar Allan Poe story. And I was like, I want something with like morgue in it.
Mhm.
And but I wasn't sure if it would like Whiskey Morgue would be too too basic, right? So like the funny thing with the logo is that my wife was like really sold on it right away. And she's like like I said, she's the creative mind behind everything I do. I'm the guy who drinks and fucking talks to people.
Right,
And
right.
I write my posts too, but she was
Yeah.
like, she sketched something up and she was like, how about this? And it was like the Glen with the cast. I'm like, that's fucking
It's
perfect. But
awesome.
I'm the white type. I overthink. I was overthinking it way too much.
Mhm.
When we were trying to think of the name and Whiskey More was like the first thing that we came up with, literally. But then I thought, no, that's too simple, and I need to like overcomplicate it. And then once I saw that image come together, and I was like, Coffin, Glen, Whiskey Morgue, I'm like, there it is. Like I'm sold. We'll run with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of the name has to come with like the identity of the person too. Once you create that identity of what you're about, with your
Mm-hmm.
creativity and what you're all about, the branding, then the name kind of takes hold. Like you can have a
Yeah,
really cool name to start with, but like if you don't have like the cool content and
yeah.
stuff like that to go with it, then it doesn't mean too much.
The irony is like I always laugh because Whiskey Morgue, like what I thought it was when it was conceived, was a creative writing project for me because like I teach English by day.
Oh,
So I enjoy teaching, don't get me wrong, but like I always enjoyed writing and I was like, here I am, I just teach, like I actually don't really write anymore. And I was looking for like an avenue with that. And I also like had this like a fair size, nothing compared to now, like a fair size whiskey collection. And I was like, oh, I want to post this on Instagram. I was like, oh, maybe I'll even get some fucking free bottles or samples. Like if I'm like, that's the internet. You just go out there, you become an influencer, and people will send you stuff. And I was like very naive about it.
right.
But I was like, I don't want to. So like on one side, I was like, hey, I want to write maybe about horror. I don't know. Like I don't want to try to say I'm a film critic and start like a blog. That wasn't my avenue. And then the whiskey thing, I was like, well, I'm not just going to take a picture of my bottle on the shelf. So when I kind of married those two things together, it was like, well, what do I do all the time? Like I put on a movie, I pour a drink, and that's my thing. And like I always say, my boot camp was I got like that countdown, the 13-day mini Funko Pop calendar.
Yep.
And if you go back to like when my page first started, like every single day I would open one up and force myself to do like a pairing on the spot and then just grab like a bottle of whiskey. So at first it was just like I thought I would just use like merch, like collectibles that I had around the house and would pair it that way. And then I did a couple posts when I was watching something in front of the TV and I was like, shit, like this is what I'm doing. Like if I can get this down, like what's sustainable? What's something I can actually do several times a week for years to come if I really want to have fun with this. But the kicker is that I didn't want to be known. I was like, I want to be like the Undertaker of like whiskey on Instagram. Like I just want to be
Nice.
like no one knows who I am. Like who is this guy? It's like very mysterious. Um, and I really was like, I'm not going to show my face. I think almost for the first year, I was like, this is just a creative writing outlet. I want people to really be into my writing and not about who I am. And then it's funny that it kind of just naturally grew over time, and eventually people kind of want to know who you are. So it's like, I would hop on something here and there, and
Mm.
it helped exponentially. Like people were like, oh shit, like that's the guy behind it, right? And you start meeting people and chatting. So it's kind of crazy how I started off just wanting to write and have it be an outlet for me and just like enjoying my drink and my movie, to it growing so much and then kind of naturally leading to doing things like this, or like doing videos, or hopping on Instagram live and kind of making it a little bit more personal.
So
That's
how
awesome.
did you get hooked up with Rue TV?
So that's a cool story. So like my dream was to write for Rue Morgue. Like so when I talk about like even the writing part, I was like, one day I'm gonna write for Rue Morgue. And again, there's some irony to this story. So I was like, I I was writing a bunch of pieces. I was like, and then when I started Whiskey Morgue, I still was thinking like if I got a gig, like I would want Rue Morgue to see my stuff writing for whiskey, but realize that I can write and then maybe ask me to do a column of some sort. So I don't know if I guess I definitely was following them first, and I don't know if I had reached out or tagged them in something. But I know like Andrea, who's like the chief editor there, her and I had chatted a little bit back and forth, and she's like, "Hey man, I think it's a really cool thing in what you're doing with like the Whiskey Morgue stuff." And I was like, "Oh shit, like this is awesome." And I was like, just to have like kind of like that blessing, like she curates the magazine that like has been
Right.
around for forever. I mean, and I'm like, for her to say this is a cool idea, it was a little bit of a pat on the back to be like, okay, like there is an audience out there. I should like maybe keep doing this. But I was still like, hey, do you want me to write for you? And like I definitely am. I'm not the pushy type, so I was like, oh, like thank you so much. And I even said like I was like, hey, I think the one time I was like, I definitely enjoy writing. I'm down to kind of write whatever. So if there's ever opportunity, like let me know, or I could even send you some stuff. And I remember she was like, you know what, your stuff would translate really well in like video format. And I like froze up and I was like, dude, I'm the fucking Mr. Anonymous guy. Like I'm not like, don't get me wrong, I'm a social person. Like I can do this. I teach for a living. So it wasn't
Right.
about that, but I was just like, I didn't think I would be doing like YouTube videos, right? I was like,
Yeah,
no, I'm a writer. Like,
you didn't think yourself as like a content creator, really.
yeah, that's exactly it, right? So for the first time she mentioned it, she was like, "Yeah, I think it would be cool." I think I kind of froze up a bit, and I was like, "Yeah, like I've thought about it," and then it kind of just died off there, right? Um, and then the funny thing was that the friend who gave me, here comes full circle, the mask here and the some of the other stuff behind me. Um, she was talking with Andrea, and I didn't know they were friends. And my name came up, and she was like, "Oh shit, like Mike, like Whiskey Morgan." She's like, "Mike's wife is my best friend since we were kids." And I feel like I was already in the door, but that was like her vouching for me and saying like Mike's a solid guy, like he loves horror, he's great to work with, and he's a creative. Then conversation kind of started up again, and I was a little bit less intimidated because they were like, okay, you can show up and like you film here. I thought at first when she mentioned it, she wanted me to like launch my own YouTube thing and then would be part of Rue Morgue. Like I was like kind of naive to it all. I didn't know how that worked. And I was like, shit, like I'm not ready to start a YouTube channel and like film all my stuff
Yeah.
and edit it. So yeah, she was like, you know what, like let's run with it. Let's try to do an episode. So last summer, I got the call to go there and do it, and I shit myself. Like, I actually like it was. I've done so many. I've played shows. Like I've done things that I should be so nervous about, and had no problem whatsoever. But it was like the one moment in my life where I actually had to like just sit there and be like, yo, I'm actually so damn nervous. And I had to like admit it to them. Because I got there and I'm like, okay, luckily Rue Morgue is in Toronto, which is cool. So it was already in like
Yeah.
our my backyard. But I get there and they have like that set already done up for me. And there's like people with audio and there's lighting, and they actually have like a little production. And I was like, oh shit. And like, so now I just kind of talk to myself in front of the camera. And I can do this all day. I can banter
Right,
and
right.
riff off of what you're saying. And I had like my script like loosely done, but it was a learning experience, man. Like, um, they were amazing. They were like super patient and helpful, and they were like every single person who does this is exactly like you the first time. It's like a weird thing to be in a spotlight and just talk to yourself
For sure.
and make it sound natural. But yeah, it took off and like it went well. I did like the second episode in January there. And they're like on a cycle of like when they film, so everything kind of comes back around. So hopefully, I think in the next month or so, like we'll do a few more things, and we might even change things up and make it a little bit more fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, isn't it weird, man, that like you get asked to do those things and you so overthink it? I'm just like you, man. First of all, I have like imposter syndrome, like you fucking read about. I don't think anything
Yeah,
I'm doing, if people are like, that's awesome, I'm like, oh, it's no, wait, no, it's not. Like, you know what I mean? Don't
yeah,
don't take it and run with it because it's not. But it's weird. You hype yourself up for stuff like that and you get all in your feels and nervous about it. and then you realize that they just want you for you. Like they want you to be yourself. And then all of a sudden it's the hardest thing to just be who you are. You know, it's
Yeah.
such an odd feeling.
That's the perfect way to put it, because I literally was talking to my wife today and I used that term. I said, I always have imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Like, even when you guys asked me on the to be on the podcast, you're like, hey, like we're starting up a podcast, like we're kind of new, like would you, like Ben mentioned you, and it just still feels like I'm like, but like, are you sure you want to talk to me? Like you guys have had some great guests. Like, do
Right.
I belong amongst like these people, right?
Right.
And then like once in a while I have to kind of shake my head and be like, yeah, like, I've been able to do this work with Rue Morgue and they
Yeah.
enjoy what I'm doing and they want me to do this. And talking to Ben and becoming friends with him and kind of having a little bit of his mentorship too. He's been great with giving me some pointers and just being super supportive in general, right? So I have moments where I have to kind of put myself in check and be like, no, man,
You want to
like
be
you're
here.
doing something
You
that's
should.
cool,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah. And it's, there's a certain confidence that comes with it. I think, that you should have, you know what I mean? Because obviously if people are wanting to talk to you and the whole room work thing, doing stuff with them, I mean, there's obviously something to it, and you're doing things right. And it's just hard sometimes when you're a humble person to kind of sit back and be like, oh shit, yeah, like you kind of have to put that confidence inside you and be like, yeah, I deserve to be doing this. I've put in the work. People want to hear this. It's my creative outlet. It's what I want to do. We had this, it's so funny because you do these and you get nervous for stuff and then you realize you're not alone. You know,
yeah,
it's this weird thing that kind of makes you feel a little bit better, because we had the same thing. I mean, when we had Ben on, we were like, there's no reason we should be talking to him. What the fuck is going on? Right.
yeah.
And
Did,
then,
did
like
Ben
you
tell you about
said,
when he got the email from like Jamie Lee Curtis?
yeah, and he was like,
Yeah, but that's the thing. He's a fan too, so he's
yeah,
like, here we are, like, oh, when the first time you talked to Ben, you're like, oh, damn, I get to talk to Ben, Fright Rags, and all this stuff. And
yeah,
then he's talking, he's like, can you believe it? Like, so and so messaged me,
right.
and he's kind of starstruck a bit. So like, we're all like, yeah, we're all in
Yeah,
it, right?
we're all
Different
fans,
tiers
and
of
absolutely.
yeah,
But it stems from, well, what's cool about Ben, like you said, is he's understanding of that. He's, and we didn't want to go into it being like we didn't know. We were like, do we ask him all the questions that he's been asked? You know what I mean? Like, do you
yeah,
ask him how it started? Do you ask him what his favorite design? Do you do all
yeah,
these things? And I kind of talked to him after, and I was like, I'm really sorry that we asked all those questions. It just feels like, as a pot, that's the kind of the branding we're in, is like, people who don't know who you are, we want them to know who you are. So you kind of, and he's like, dude, that's what it's about. He's like,
yeah. You feel like you have like a bit of a duty to, again, because
right,
you can't assume that everybody knows who
exactly.
he is. You like most, if they're following you and they're horror fans, you like
Yeah,
perhaps, but maybe they've never listened to an interview by him with him. Sorry, and this is the gateway into it, right? So yeah, it's always weird trying to strike that balance between the formality of like introducing the person, but then also just kind of exploring things that they don't usually talk about and
right.
making it more genuine.
Right. He was awesome about it. But like, back to my point, we had those same feelings, where it's like, you said we've had great guests on, and we're still sitting here like, how the fuck did we have great guests on? But the
Yeah,
thing is, the more I realize is everybody we've had has been a great guest. Doesn't matter if you're Ben from Fright Rags, or you're that horror couple, or
yeah,
you're Whiskey Morgue, or you're Shut Up James, or you're He's Crafty. All these people we've had on, no matter who they are, have been great, and
Yeah,
has
they
have had great insight and interesting things to say, and it's just
there's
been such a
there's not
pleasure.
been there's not been one person that we have had on that we have not enjoyed. Like,
Yeah.
we truly, and I apologize for leaving. My dog got out. He's not allowed down here. He's like, he just like showed
he
up out
just
of
popped his
nowhere.
head
I'm
in the
like,
door.
but I had to take him back upstairs. But yeah, nobody that we've had on has not been a pleasure. Like, they've all been wonderful. Like,
Yeah.
it's a fun, it's the biggest thing is we're creating friendships, and that's what I really do think that's what we truly strive to do, because that's what we talked about. We were like, hey,
Yeah,
let's let's start this to
And we're just super interested. Like,
yeah,
I'm super
yeah,
interested in like what you're doing, and like what everybody else has been doing. Like, it's just super.
and we've not talked enough about you, I don't think. Let's get into more. So tell us some more
Yeah,
that we didn't
absolutely.
know. Like, I want to know more.
Yeah, like what else
You go first.
do you have do you have any plans on like for the future of Whiskey Morgue, or do you like what you're doing, or do you think that you've wanted to expand into other avenues and try new things in the world of content creation, I guess I would call it.
I'm definitely at like this point where I feel like I started off like I was solely like an Instagram thing. Like I said, I'm doing the posts, I'm doing the pairings, and that's my bread and butter. And then the room work thing was great because it really put me out there. And again, that discomfort was good. And at the same time, kind of learning through that. So I loved the idea of like it was horror on the rocks. It's not Whiskey Morgue. Like it's
Right.
Whiskey Morgue doing horror on the rocks.
Like its own show.
Yeah, and that's why the second video I did with them, I was like, I'm gonna piss off some like whiskey purists because I did like a rum tequila,
Vodka.
yeah, vodka, and I was like, well, fuck it. Like, I guess the where I want to take things is that like it was never meant to be like about myself. It was more of like and I guess even though I put myself out there, it's really been about community. And when you posted the t-shirt, which was awesome, and the bottles, I'm like, it truthfully like it made me super happy. And I'm like, this is why I do it, because like, yeah, we reached out, we said we do the podcast, but like I didn't know you were actually into whiskey as well. You
Right.
pull out flexing the fucking Pappy Van Winkle,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh shit. And I was like, there's that connection, right? And I'm like, I've had that kind of happen along the way. So when I think of the future, it's been like, how do I continue to build community, and do cool things? Like I'm my like the first thing on the agenda is I definitely want to do something like where I got to figure it out, because I know Ben does like on he moved to Discord now where they do like terror tweets,
Yep.
where like once a month if I set up like, here's what we're drinking, here's the movie we're watching, let's all do this together.
Mhm.
I think that would be really cool, and that's why I'm trying to kind of hash out some details and what that looks like. But then yeah, like I was talking to you guys earlier about, was like, just I've done a bunch of interviews myself and I enjoy talking to people, and especially if I can find that they enjoy that angle too, like talking to Chris from Under Oath and finding out he collects whiskey, and then that's how like me and Ben became friends.
Right.
And like growing up, I was like a
Under
huge,
Oath.
yeah,
The band?
yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So I found out, like I saw that. So here's a cool thing. He on the side does scores for horror movies.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah, so he
that.
produces all a bunch of musical scores. And I saw the masks in the background, so I messaged him and I was just like, "Hey man, like I know you do Under Oath. Obviously, I've been a fan like my whole life. But I know you score horror movies. Can we talk about that?" And I said, like, if you're not into whiskey, that's cool. Like we don't have to go there. Like we could just still hang out and talk horror. And he was like, dude, like the one thing I love just as much as horror is my whiskey. And I was like, oh hell yeah.
Perfect.
We're like, yeah. So
Fuck yeah.
and so then just it's crazy, like where like, again, it doesn't mean like everyone has to like drink whiskey and watch horror, but like straddling both sides, like those things kind of resonate with people. So I'm just trying to like kind of, I realize that a lot of people enjoy either talking about the movie or the drinks. And really what I found most is that people coming together and chatting and kind of that communal aspect is what I enjoy the most. So I'm just like, how do I translate that into, it sounds so cheesy, like a Whiskey Morgue
Content.
experience where it's content, where it's like, yeah, like here's our thing once a month, here's the movie, here's the drink,
Yeah.
and we do that.
So
Um,
that's what you're really trying to do right now, right? You're trying to focus more on like, hey, this is the movie I'm drinking, or sorry, this is the
yeah.
this is the movie I'm watching. This is the drink I'm drinking. That's what you're wanting to do right now.
Yeah, and just kind of like a hangout
Is
for
it
people to.
is it a
And the
month or
bridges and the bridges, man. Connecting
is
the
it a
bridges. Like you've
it,
said, like those bridges you're connecting, from Fright Rags to us to you,
Yeah,
all those bridges are super huge and connecting. And like I think there's something to that when you're talking about expanding. I would personally love to see your own podcast where maybe it's about horror and it's about movies. And the whiskey aspect is what you bring to the table, not what the other person is bringing to the
yeah.
table. So
how do
like,
you do that? How do you do
well,
that?
I just like the
So
idea of like a YouTube show of like this is my pour of the day. This is what I'm drinking today. And that's like your intro, right? And you do
Yeah.
your whole intro with that pour. You have a video of the glass pouring, all that stuff, and then you have a guest on it. It's not necessarily about whiskey, but it
Well,
is at the same time.
like he said though, that gets expensive. That's
Well,
pretty
but
high
he's got
dollar
a
right
lot of
there.
Oh, I'm
bottles.
already
And I
so far
mean,
deep.
Oh,
yeah,
so
he's got
you've got a
years
shit
worth of
ton.
Yeah.
bottles,
Okay.
absolutely. And you can always double up. I mean, it's like us
So
having the
are
same the same guest on it. It happens, and
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
good thing. It
So
doesn't, and there
are
could be another aspect to that drink that you can
So
bring to the
I have
episode.
something fun in the works where it got canceled before. So do you know Damien Maffei?
No.
The Strangers Haunt. Like so he was like the devil in Haunt. He was like
oh
the man
yes,
in
Oh,
yes,
the
okay.
yes,
man
yes,
in the
yes, yes,
mask.
yes.
So him and I have been chatting for a while, and he was filming a new movie, and I said, okay, I'll send you some whiskey. And he goes, here's the great thing. He goes, I don't really drink, and I don't really drink whiskey. He's like, I'll have a beer once in a while. He's like, but send me some samples, like random samples, and like let's make it like a hot ones type thing
Yeah,
where
nice, nice.
and I
Fuck,
love hot ones.
dude.
So
Yeah, me too.
That's a
and
good
so
idea.
yeah, so I sent him the samples. The shitty part was that the night we were gonna hop on here, he literally messaged me and he was like, because he was staying at like I don't know if it was a hotel or Airbnb. He was in Pennsylvania and he was like, dude, they want me to go on set tonight. And he's like, should I like? He goes, I feel bad canceling. And right away I was just like, dude, do that. Like that's your
Yeah,
job. Because he
right.
was like, do I make a stink? And I was like, if you got to do something, like we'll make this happen later on. And sure enough, like we were just chatting the other day, and it was like, hey, this was back in end of February, I think, or beginning of March. And he was like, I think I still got the samples kicking around here. Like, let's do it. So we're gonna eventually jump on. I think we're just gonna
We're
end up doing it
good.
on Instagram live, and it's just gonna be like
I've heard he's
chatting.
a cool dude.
That is a
Yeah.
fucking great idea, dude.
Dude,
That is
yeah. So
such a
like
good idea. And you could do one
you
of those like once a month where it wouldn't be too expensive to you to maybe ship some
yeah.
samples
Yeah.
or something like that. I mean, that's a cool idea, dude. And then
Yeah.
you could do a question for each one if you want, or a different piece of
Yeah.
conversation for each one. That would be a fucking great
And
idea.
So it's funny because
you
like
kind of have that feel of that guy.
I would
like
put that on
from
Check the
Hot
Can.
Ones.
I would put that on Check the Candy YouTube. Like I would
yeah.
put that on our YouTube. I'd be like, Check the Candy presents Whiskey Morgue fucking.
Because you know what, like when I watch Hot Ones, like that, honestly, he's one of the greatest inspirations for
Oh,
like what I
he's
do.
awesome.
Like when I interview people, like I want it to be casual like this. But I like kind of like doing those deep dives and throwing out
Mhm.
those like little tidbits where they're like, oh shit, you've done your homework. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
that's always fun. So like the whole
Yeah,
thing with
Sean's
him
great.
is I was giving like and I'll tell you guys because whatever, but like so the pairings that I have set up for him,
That's what happens, by the way. Every time we have someone
yeah,
on,
yeah,
we
I'll
get
just disclose everything.
they get comfortable and they
Yeah.
go, by the way, yeah, just keep it on. It's fine.
So
But we're like, okay.
everything's connected to his career. So like the first one is like a Penelope. It's by Penelope, and they're out of New Jersey, and it's not far from where he grew up and went to film school or theater school. Sorry. So like I'm like, do I maybe I'll kind of drop it on him at the end or as we go, and like Stag is like the has like the antlers on the bottle, so I sent him like a Stag Junior
Right.
pour.
Mhm.
So like everything is like kind of lining up. Like New Riff was where he filmed Haunt and the Strangers, right by that distillery on the cusp of like Kentucky and what's across the river there,
Virginia.
is it Virginia on that side? Yeah, Virginia.
Virginia, Tennessee, I don't know.
I'm like, Ohio, is it Ohio?
I don't know. What are those states?
I think it's Ohio.
We're drinking, people. We're drinking.
Yeah. But so like I was like purposely curating just like things based on like, so like there was pairings kind of secretly in the background that kind of mirror like the questions and what we're talking about and where he's at in his career. So
That's cool. Yeah, that's a great
So
idea, man. Holy
he
shit.
was Strangers too. He was sack face,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
I would fucking
I've
watch that, dude.
I've heard he was a killer guy, and yes,
I wanna fucking produce that, to be honest with you.
that's what I was just thinking too. John made very clear sense right there. I think we should tag team some of this shit.
Yeah, that's
So-
fucking
I'd
awesome,
be game.
dude. That I would edit the shit out of that fucking. I would edit the shit out of that show.
It
Just-
wouldn't
just
be all the
strictly
time.
for
just
fun.
yeah, it wouldn't be all the time just simply because it's a lot of money to send people certain things. But
But I'm saying just
That-
as far as editing, if you needed help editing and putting together
Sweet.
something that's like somewhat of a show, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could easily do that and it would be fucking sweet, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? Like I that's the thing is like I really want to get some of these things off the ground. And like I said, I've been using Instagram Live as like my main platform, but like I said, I feel like if things have changed and it gets lost in the shuffle. And sometimes like I had one interview with Rob, who's like the distiller for blackened whiskey, Metallica's whiskey.
Mhm.
And you know, chatting with him, I'm a huge fan of his. So, you know, he worked for Stranahan's earlier, another Colorado distillery. He got on there, and I'm like, here's one of my favorite distillers with like working now for like one of my favorite bands ever. Like the reason I got into playing guitar, right? So like
Right.
I'm chatting with him and the conversation's amazing. And I'm kind of like pinching myself because he's like, yeah, like last night I was with James talking about this and that. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh shit, like this is like why am I here again? Imposter syndrome, right? Like why
Right.
am I
Exactly. Why am I
sitting
the one
here
getting this story?
and
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, tell me, yeah, you and Kirk were talking too. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, like you
Great.
know, and but like something like that now was like lost in like a shuffle of post in a
Yeah.
whatever the fuck they call it, the grid or stream.
Was it like did you do like a live?
Yeah, it was just a live. So like
Yeah, man, we gotta get you off live, dude.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
We
100%.
need this shit on getting views is what we need. We'll talk after this, but
yeah,
um dude, that's so fucking sick, man. Like that you have some good ideas, bro, and you need to
That's a
run with
very
those
yeah.
things.
It's
That's
very
yeah,
that Hot
loaded.
Ones ideas. You come up with like a cool name for it, man. That's cool. Now,
yeah. And I think that
would you think about doing like a lower shelf to top shelf when you do the actual drinks
yeah.
or
So I think like for me, yeah, like how you would organize them. Like I guess I would go up in proof
yeah,
like and just like in the proof, but then I like the part of it that I think would be entertaining and why I wanted to do it was that if I'm doing this like, and so again I was trying to think about like the two audiences, right? So if I'm doing this with Damien, there's people who are horror fans who maybe don't care for the whiskey and they're like, cool, like I know all these movies and I want to hear about upcoming projects. He has a lot of cool stuff in the works.
right,
And they're eating that up. But the whiskey people, I'm like, I want to make this entertaining because if I give them something that's like a Blanton's Gold that you
Yeah.
know is coveted in the whiskey community, he's like, "What the fuck is this?"
right.
Like I want that. Like if he
You
spits it
want that
out or he's like, "This
reaction.
is
Hell yeah.
yeah." So I'm like, you know, I don't want it to be any bit pretentious. That it's just like I want it to be kind of fun where like progressively, you know, maybe the proof goes up and maybe some of it's still just like it could be like a Wild Turkey 101 where it's still high in proof but cheap.
Right.
But like just to kind of hear people's reactions, it'd be fun. And like
Or
I think
you could hit him with a rye, you could hit him with a bourbon, you could hit him with a scotch,
yeah.
you
And they're
know.
like, oh yeah, what's this? Right. And when you think of hot ones, there's people who embrace the hot sauce and they're like, yeah, I eat hot sauce every day.
Yeah,
You know, bring it on. And that's a whole different experience with
right.
the host Sean Evans. And then there's the people who are like, I absolutely hate hot sauce. I'm gonna struggle. And then watching them desperately try to make it through it is the entertaining part. So I feel like it can really borrow like or like that kind of aspect where
So
it just depends
like
on who you're talking with.
Yeah, absolutely.
with people like so two things with that right there is that two like people don't drink. You know, some people don't drink. Period. So
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
if you
like the sackhead guy, like he obviously isn't a big drinker, so his would
Yeah.
be
so
super interesting by the time he gets to that,
well that's the
eighth
thing though.
drink.
Like even if he would do that, so that's one of those things. Like it's gonna be a
Right.
limited of people that you would be able to get just simply because some people just do not do it. You know, that's
Yeah.
all there is
Yeah.
to it. And then two, how would you do like five of them? Because I know hot ones, I think they have like 10.
They have
Yeah,
So
10.
what would
no,
you do?
I think
Three
I
or
sent
four or
him
five?
I sent him four.
It's a good
Four?
one.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like four and the part that just came to mind too, it's even shittier and I'm thinking about it like it would have been great. Like him and I are gonna do it and it'll be fun. I'm sure it will be. But his buddy Brian who like helped him write the movie he was just finished filming, it's called Dark Circles. And him and his buddy Brian had been working on this and his friend there had I think he produced or wrote he was on the team for Spring Breakers.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Hey, do you mind if like Brian hops on with us? He's going to be like in the hotel room, and he's kind of a whiskey guy." And I'm like, "Sure." Like
Yeah.
let him join in. And I just love that like off the cuff.
Whatever.
Yeah, like why
Yeah.
am I the one again having this conversation?
Yeah. It's and so a friend of mine today at work was like, you know, it's funny because I got this like more informally, like, so where are you going with Whiskey Morgue? And I was like, look, like I want to keep writing. I want to be more creative with like content, like the hot ones aspect, the communal gathering with watching a movie. But I'm like also just like at the end of the day, I'm like it's more this like experimental project now where I'm like, how far can I push this? Like that, like I said, where I'm constantly pinching myself and talking to like band members and people in the industry. And even like I've had some really cool people like who are like Hall of Famers in bourbon where I'm like, wait, they agreed to talk to me and like
Right.
we're sitting down and having a conversation. Like, you guys familiar with Angel's Envy?
Oh yeah.
I'm not.
One of my favorite bottles.
Yeah, so Wes
Fucking
Henderson,
sick.
it was him and his father who started Angel's Envy, right? So
Oh
his father
wow.
left Brown Foreman. They started Angel's Envy. Now he's older. He actually retired. Like so, Wes, who I got to interview, just retired. And he's kind of left it to his kids. He's still involved, but him and I are talking. So here's the crazy thing: we started chatting because he collaborated with Rob from like the Metallica whiskey. Because now that he's independent and retired, he was like, "Oh, I can like dabble in different things." So we're talking. He's like, yeah, like when you were speaking with Rob, like this is the project we were working on. I find out that he worked as a coroner for his city on the side. So he's telling me about
Oh,
like real life like crime scenes and stuff. And I'm like, how am I talking to a Hall of Famer like of like Angel's Envy? And now we're talking about how he works in a morgue. like 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 what? Like it's
that's
like some
cool.
things that come full circle, and I'm just like
Absolutely.
it's just it's fun, and I'm like I'm gonna shoot my shot with like anybody now, and I just said like I'm literally just gonna message anybody and see if they're willing to kind of
Mhm.
chat, and it's exactly what you guys are doing, and I have a job, we have jobs, and if all it is that for years we kind of do fun things like this, then I'll be older and just be like, yeah, I was fucking kick ass when I did that, and I got
Yeah,
to
Fuck
like
yeah.
talk to a lot of cool people, and I can't believe I did a
absolutely.
lot of those things, and it was
It's
a
all
fucking
about
blast.
it's all about experience, dude. And
It really
when
is.
did you kind of start doing all of this? Just real quick.
I think it was October 2021. So like two
Okay, so
year. I think like this
Jesus.
October will be 3 years
Yeah.
that I've been
So
doing it or so.
first of
Yeah.
all, you're like us. You're in the, you know,
Well,
there's so much
he's
there's
older
so
than us,
but
but
there's so much room
I'm
to
older.
grow.
oh
But
yeah,
but
yeah,
there's so much room to grow though, you know what I mean? Like this shit, like me and we, we've been talking about this forever where it's all about patience. Um
Mhm.
and this stuff can take 10 years and then all of a sudden you get a big break and you've already had a few of those already, man. And
Yeah,
it only goes up. So like as long as you're having fun with it, you love what you're doing and you're loving the experiences and you're
all
loving
that
the
matters.
journey, that's what matters because it's never the destination, right? Once you get up,
yeah,
if you were to ever get up top, you know, I hope we all do. I hope we all get to the
yeah,
top. But if you do, there's nowhere really else to go. So you really have to enjoy those steps that you take, and understand that with each step, there's growth and there's more strength that comes with your brand, and your
absolutely.
creativity and your outlets. And it's awesome, dude. We're gonna talk after this. I just want to end this. I think we've been talking for like 2 fucking hours. So
Did you
um,
hear that though? Did you hear that though? That was words of wisdom right there.
I like to do
That
I
was
like to
fucking
try to do that as
brilliant.
much as I can at the end. But really appreciate you coming on, Mike. Whiskey Morgue. Keep an eye
Thanks,
out,
guys.
people.
It's
Keep
it's,
doing your
it's
thing,
going big
man.
places, big
It
things.
is absolutely, man. We're definitely gonna have you on again. So just
And we'll definitely figure out how we can collaborate
yeah,
moving forward.
we're
Yeah,
gonna hit end on this, and then we're gonna talk about that shit. So
yeah.
for all you people out there wondering, just fucking stay tuned. All right, guys. So we'll catch you later. Peace.
Cheers.
Deuces.